Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. We are so excited to welcome Jill Hardy and her husband Tim to our studio. Jill is the author of the Sparkle Box that you might be reading every Christmas now as a tradition. If not, we're going to get you started on it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Jill, first of all, the story of the Sparkle Box. Let's talk about the tradition itself. You had a family tradition, and what was it?
Well, our tradition was to give a gift to Jesus on Christmas, and we would open it together as a family on Christmas morning and read out loud these gifts of compassion that we had decided on to give to Jesus as our gifts.
So what would be an example of one of these gifts that you're giving to Jesus for his birthday?
A goat for a village, somewhere village in Africa. A goat for a family.
Okay. So, and would that be something that the whole family would know about ahead of time, or it was a surprise to some of the members of the family?
Well, we did it different ways over the years. So sometimes, Tim, my husband, and our son would team up together, and sometimes my daughter and I would team up together, and we would decide on what we were going to do, and then it would be a surprise for the others on Christmas morning. But it's gotten to the point now where we each give our own gifts. We each think of opportunities throughout the Christmas season to give.
So everybody does their own thing and then puts it in there, and then everybody else gets to read what everyone else did.
That's correct.
Very fun. All right. So this had been a tradition in your own family for how long?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's been 11 years now.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember how that got started?
Yes. Well, we had been giving alternative gifts to adult family members. And so, say instead of giving Dad a sweater when he says, I don't want anything for Christmas, don't get me anything, we would maybe make a donation to Habitat for Humanity and then give that in his honor. But we started missing giving gifts to our parents, and we thought, who are we really honoring when we do these things? Mm-hmm. And my husband and I both got it at the same moment, that it was one evening in our living room, and we just looked at each other and we're like, it's Jesus that we're honoring. So we decided to go ahead and do those things, but we would just give them in Jesus' honor.
Such a cool idea. Now, did you actually have a box, or how did you all do it?
No, if I recall, it was a bag. It was a sparkle bag. But it was just a bag with the drawstring. We had all the scraps of paper in there.
And we didn't call it the Sparkle anything. It was just our gift to Jesus.
Right. That was just his happy birthday gift.
Correct. Yeah.
So the book itself, very interesting story, how this all came about. Tell me what happened. How did this get written?
Well, it had made such a difference in the way we celebrated Christmas that every year that we would do it, we would think, how can we share this with other people? And we thought, we could do that through a book, but it was like thinking of making a product that you would feature on the Shark Tank. You don't think it's really ever going to happen. And definitely we never thought of a children's book. But one September day, when we had not thought about this tradition or talked about it with each other at all since the Christmas before, just out of the blue, I had had some plans with a friend that were canceled. And I was looking out my window into the backyard, and I thought, I have the whole day in front of me. What am I going to do? And the words, write the book, came into my vision. I'd never had anything like that happen before in my life. And I was like, now? I almost laughed. And it was like, the word now was in my vision. And I just sat down at my kitchen table. There was a pad of paper sitting there, and I wrote the words, the Sparkle Box. And I remember being almost amused by that, like, oh, well, that's interesting. And I just opened up my laptop, started typing, and in an hour and a half, the entire book was written. And I was just covered with this feeling of warmth and love and light like I had never experienced before in my life.
I've got to take you back here. First of all, not a children's book, as you had been planning. Second, the title just comes out of left field. And third, you're done in an hour and a half. Now, most people who right now are listening saying, I've tried to be writing a children's book, it does not happen that way. This just really sounds like nothing other than miraculous.
Yes, that's how we feel about it. I mean, we know because we experienced it. My husband experienced it in the way that I called him up that morning in tears.
Yeah, she called me. I was in our office working, and she's crying, and right away you think, uh-oh. You know.
What
And
happened?
she exclaimed she wrote the book, and I was kind of confused. I was, what book? Because we hadn't talked about it in months. And she explained that, in an hour and a half she'd written the book.
And written it by hand?
I typed it.
Okay.
I typed it on my laptop. I mean, I wrote the words, the sparkle box, on this pad of paper that was sitting there, but I didn't think anything through. I didn't think about a plot or characters or how this was going to flow or anything
It just
at
all spilled out of you.
That's correct. It just poured out. And it was just absolutely the most beautiful experience I'd ever had in my life.
Did you have to go back and do a lot of rewriting, or was it pretty much intact?
It was pretty much intact. There were a couple things that changed. One thing was it was cut in half. So half of the story had to be cut out when the publisher said, we've decided to publish this, but it's way too long. You need to cut half the book. There was Santa Claus was in the book, and a lot of bookstores won't carry that if there's Santa in it. So that was an easy place to cut. But the actual editing process only took another half hour. I just prayed about it. I said, God, I don't know where to cut this copy. It's supposed to be half of this. And it was like in a half hour, it was done. There was like a Thanksgiving scene in the beginning and there was a dream sequence of light, which was very beautiful, that unfortunately went, but we think maybe there'll be a time for that somewhere.
Well, I was
in the
just going to
future.
say, a lot of times as they're making a film about something, they have to expand on it and find some ways to pad it. So
Yes.
you're all set for when the movie comes out.
That would be great.
There you go. So when did it become, at what point of that hour and a half did it become a children's book?
Well, it was a children's book from the time that it was written, when I sat down to write it. So
You suddenly thought, I'm going to gear this towards children instead. Or did you never consciously think that to yourself?
no, and we had thought about sharing the book years before, like when we first started doing the tradition just with our family. And we thought about, well, how could we share it? Well, we could write a book. That's when I thought it would be in a book to adults, like a little tabletop book, one of those really tiny ones that would just say, this is how you can get that magical feeling of Christmas back, that really special feeling that as adults and even as children, as they get older, there's that feeling after the gifts are unwrapped where you feel like just almost like a little bit of a letdown.
Yes.
But after doing this tradition, like we didn't have that anymore. We had this feeling of joy that lasted and stayed with us. And so I wanted, and my husband wanted to share that with adults. Like, this is what's missing. This is all you have to do.
So like a really good Pinterest post.
Yeah, right.
A great idea
Right.
to spread along to you.
And so we were thinking in terms of communicating to parents because we are parents and we wanted to instill this into parents' hearts. But that morning when I was called to write the book and I sat down to write it, there was no thought about this is going to be a children's book, but that's just how it came out from the moment that I sat down to write it. It was write the book and I sat down. What poured out was a children's book, a very, very simple story.
Yes.
That is very full of grace and beauty, and not the way I probably would have done it, which is, this is what you're missing and this is why.
No, instead it's really from a different point of view entirely. Without any spoilers, tell us a little bit about the plot.
Okay, well, there's a little boy named Sam in the book, and he discovers a sparkly box in his home, and he's wondering what's inside. And he asks his parents about it, and they say, well, this is a special gift, and we're going to fill it first before we open it together, but we're just going to open it together later. And so throughout the Christmas season, he is reminded of the box, he thinks about it, he wonders what's inside. And at the same time, he's experiencing all these great things of Christmas that kids and adults look forward to, parties, a school party, an office party at his dad's office, shopping with his mom, looking in the toy store window. But he's also experiencing these moments of compassion that are happening around him. Like when his mom takes him on an errand and they stop by and they go to a food pantry and they drop off food and a blanket. And so through these different acts of compassion, his eyes are kind of open to the true joy that is found in giving.
And then through that story, you're able to share your own family's tradition of having a sparkle box. The book contains a sparkle box.
Yes, it has a foldable sparkle box that's included in the back of the book. And
And it's honestly sparkly.
yes, it's sparkly, and it's not that kind of annoying sparkle that gets all over you, like when you open up a Christmas card. And
Yeah.
then, like when you look in the mirror, you've got it all over your nose
doesn't
and your
shed.
eyes. And
Right, yes.
Right. It stays put.
Well, that's awfully good. That's what is amazing is you look at the book and it's absolutely beautiful. A lot of people would be familiar with the tradition of going on the Polar Express when you read the book and so forth. These paintings remind me of the Polar Express. It is a quality children's book. Talk about that a bit.
Well, it is. The illustrator, Christine Kornacki, just did a fabulous job. All the illustrations are in oil.
So she painted them in oil.
She did.
It shows. They're absolutely
the richness,
gorgeous.
absolutely. And like Chris, is it Van Allsburg, Polar Express?
I think.
Yeah, very similar in terms of just capturing the emotion and the light. And she did a fabulous job.
It's just warm. It's been in hardback, and you have now something kind of new this year.
Yes, we're so excited. It's been released in paperback this year, and its retail price is half of the price of the hardback. So we're just really excited about that because we feel it makes it affordable for people to have the book in their home, and it still includes the sparkle box in the back and the same rich illustrations that are in the hardback. The only difference is the cover. Whether it's in hardback or it's softback, but the quality of the cover is even the same. I don't know how the publisher did it. It's just amazing.
It's absolutely beautiful. And now, for a limited time, there's the Sparkle Box Challenge. What is that?
Well, we are just so excited about the Sparkle Box Challenge. It's always been on our hearts to share this message with as many people as possible. And we would love to see a tradition started where people all across America put a sparkle box under their tree for Jesus at Christmas. But in order to do that, everyone kind of has to be on the same page. And so that means getting the book out into people's hands. Well, the publisher has done something that we have never heard of any publisher doing before in the children's book market with a picture book. They have put it online for free through December 31st for anyone to read.
Yeah, so, say that again.
Yes.
Let's not gloss over
Right.
that. Say that again. That does not happen.
Because we even looked for examples, of where this has been done before and could not come up with a single example of this being done in traditional publishing. So through December 31st, 2018, anyone that would like to read the Sparkle Box can go to thesparklebox.com, and through that link, they can read the book cover to cover and experience what the story is all about.
It's remarkable, and then able to share it with others as well, right? There's some kind of a mechanism where you're able to post it on Facebook and be able to pass that along?
Exactly. So we're calling this the Sparkle Box Challenge, and the Sparkle Box Challenge is this. It's 1, read the book. You can do it for free online at thesparklebox.com. 2, do the tradition. And 3, invite 3 people to do it with you. And so the invite part we've made really easy with great graphics that you can share on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. There's also printable flyers that you can print out and maybe share with a school or a Sunday school class. Getting everyone to take the Sparkle Box Challenge and put the focus on true joy at Christmas, which is found in giving. And I just cannot say enough for the difference this has made with my children and how I have heard it change families and their hearts and their kids' hearts at Christmas, where, instead of thinking about what they want to get, they're thinking about what they want to give. And they're truly experiencing the joy that comes from that, because that is how God has wired us, and it's such a beautiful thing.
It is. I mean, we hear it's more blessed to give than to receive. It's more fun to give than to receive.
It is.
And Jesus knew that. He was trying to get that through our thick skulls, but sometimes it takes a while, doesn't it? How old are your children now?
Our children are 19 and 27.
So they have known this as a tradition for most of growing up.
They have.
Have they started it yet in their own homes? Are they on their own, or are they still under your roof?
Well, we have one that's still at home.
Uh-huh.
Our daughter, Katie, is on her own. She lives in Dayton. And both the kids say this is their favorite thing to do at Christmas. And we have seen our daughter, save her money when she was she was working as a volunteer through AmeriCorps, but she was still saving her nickels and dimes and putting them in this little teapot. And she sent me a picture of it, and it said "For the Sparkle Box" on it. And our son, who had been saving money for an iPad one year, I'll never forget that, he decided to take that money and buy things for other people. And so it's just really cool to see the joy that they found in it and how they have incorporated this into their own Christmas celebrations. looking for opportunities throughout the season to bless people.
It's absolutely beautiful. We do need to take a short little break here. We're speaking with Jill and Tim Hardy about the Sparkle Box. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.